Okay. Thank you, John. So I guess we're coming to the meat of the sandwich, as John highlighted. So this was our secret lead negotiator of the task force, and we channeled him every time we went to a negotiation meeting. So basically what I'm going to do is just go through the broad strokes about the changes that we've made. So what we're facing now, the events that have occurred over the last week, we've got an extension to the deadline for signing the contracts, and that will be to the end of May. The contracts will take effect on the 4th of August. Now, because private practice allowance will be ceased on the 30th of June, there'll be a HED issued to cover or to keep paying us private practice allowances until the 4th of August when the contracts take effect. There obviously have been significant improvements to the contract. I hesitate to use the word changes or positive changes. I think we should frame it as a restoration of things that we lost through MOCA 3 to the contract. And we also have this new body which oversees the process of external review to how the contracts are being implemented, and that's the Contract Advisory Committee, which unfortunately, when you abbreviate it, becomes CAC. As I said, I'm just going to go through the broad details about the restorations to the contract and CAC, and I'll let Luke fill in the further detail. I guess it's important to note that this is an in-principle agreement at the moment. Okay, so we had a number of issues, 5 to 6 sort of die-in-the-ditch issues. I guess the one that isn't listed there is the fact that the contract could be changed unilaterally by the DG. Now, that's obviously been fixed by the amendment to the HHB Act. But the remaining ones were dispute resolution. Now, dispute resolution has now in the contract, and I'm not sure if people at the front have got the latest version of the contract. The letters or the words that are in red are the track changes. So with grievance and dispute resolution, there's now the option for binding arbitration by the QRC Deputy President. And the procedure for this is also at the front as well. It's the grievance and dispute resolution procedure, just a single sheet. That will be issued as a Health Employment Directive, number 7/14, and that should be issued on the 7th of July this year. Okay? And Luke will talk to that in more detail. The second of the big issues, sort of lumped in one, were hours of work, rosters, fatigue, and location. Now, the improvement in the contract is that the medical officer can refuse changes in roster on reasonable grounds. And there are examples of that, such as if there's an inability to manage care arrangements, or if there's a risk to fatigue that can't be mitigated, or if there's a risk for adverse patient outcomes. Now, those are examples, and they're not exclusive. And I guess if there's any disagreement or dispute, that would automatically go to the dispute resolution procedure. Same with location. You can refuse a change in location on reasonable grounds, taking in your personal circumstances. And again, if there's any dispute, that will go to the dispute resolution process. KPIs. KPIs are by agreement now. Tier 3 will be guaranteed until June 2016. Okay. After that, the amount paid in Tier 3 can be reduced depending on what, I guess, the measurement and the outcome of your KPIs in the 2015 to 16 year. Again, if there's any problems, that goes through the dispute resolution. Going on to termination, I guess unfair dismissal was another of the big issues. So unfair dismissal now, you can refer that to the DG, who will request the QIRC Deputy President to independently arbitrate whether a termination was harsh, unjust, or unreasonable. And that actually applies to termination with or without notice. And I'll let Luke talk to that a bit more later on. Just another thing of note with regards to termination, for medical officers who'd been working for more than 5 years, they had a 6-month notice period, but now you can elect to choose a 3 or 6 month notice period when you sign your contract to give notice. And also, most importantly, the clause which may have caused termination without notice if you caused risk to the reputation, viability and profitability of the services business, that's been removed entirely. So there are still some outstanding problems, and we'll probably deal with these again later in the evening. There's no guarantee of parity for new SMOs, in that translating SMOs will obviously get Tier 3 and Tier 4, and I'm talking about Option A people here. They'll get the 25% from Tier 3 with KPIs and the 25% with the Tier 4D to make up or translate the Option A payment across. We push very hard because we realise that new SMOs may be at a disadvantage, and they may not get their Tier 4D payments that their other colleagues might get in their department. So that remains an outstanding problem. Clinical support time, we pushed again to get what was in MOCA, which was a minimum of 10%. The reply was that individuals can negotiate within Schedule 1. And I believe the latest understanding is that they'll be trying to implement the existing arrangements, but assess it on a case-by-case basis. Another problem with the Schedule 1 is that now there's a notification or a declaration that you have to make with regards to all your other engagements, which may be as an employee, somewhere else, as a contractor, or even as a business owner. It's very broad and very general. We feel that this is quite an invasion of privacy and is completely unnecessary. And we can talk about strategies to deal with this collectively. Okay. Option B, P, and R. We haven't forgotten about people on those options or private practice allowances. Unfortunately, a lot of the information is still coming through. We only got some information on modelling last week, so that's a work in progress, as well as also is private practice. So moving on to the CAC, the Contract Advisory Committee, I guess the one thing of note is that it does oversee the annual increase to remuneration base rates, and this will be managed by, or this will be arbitrated. Okay, so that's a big positive from the CAC. The makeup of the CAC is split between 4 people appointed by the DG and 4 doctors' representatives who are elected by secret ballot. And I think because this is the process by which the contracts are going to be reviewed over time, we need to make sure that when those ballots or those elections are held, that we take it very seriously and that we look at the candidates being nominated. And I think there might be endorsed candidates by our unions, so we need to consider that as well. I think we need to really make sure that we get effective representation on that committee to make sure that these contracts are implemented appropriately. And the last slide, I thought we would pay tribute to the things that we've lost along the way. And it's quite interesting to watch that video because it sort of rams home how long, this whole process has been. But I guess, we're looking like we're reaching a point where we could potentially sign these contracts, but it's important to note that we have lost a lot of things through changes in the IR Act. We have lost a certified agreement, we've lost the award, and we lost a lot of provisions and protections in those awards. But most importantly, and I think Dr. Davis spent a bit of time talking about this, is that we have lost trust and goodwill, and I think it will be a very long process to rebuild that. Okay, thank you.